day and welcome to Natural Health Dialogue. Today's topic is going to be very timely, although we're on the downside of our quote pandemic. There are still some cases out there of COVID-19 which impacts the lungs, and that happens to be the system that we're going to focus on today. So we're going to learn some about that. Randy, what do you have?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the respiratory system. This year, on the second week of each month, we're covering a body system. Last year, we covered how to cleanse that body system. This year, we're talking about how to keep that body system healthy. And it's interesting to me when we talk about respiratory system, the first thing that ever comes up is allergies. I'm amazed at the number of people that have allergies that impact their ability to breathe, their respiratory system. And so we'll talk about in general what the respiratory system is, what the parts of it are, but then we're going to talk about how to keep it healthy. The respiratory system's primary function is to supply the body with oxygen and eliminate its byproduct, carbon dioxide. So what you're trying to do is get oxygen into your system so that everything can be oxygenated. Your blood can work, your breathing can work. The oxygen is required in every cell in your body. And so how do you get it in there and get it to the cells? And then the other part is the byproduct is carbon dioxide. And we know you can die from carbon dioxide poisoning. So we want to get that carbon dioxide out of the body. The parts of the body system are the sinuses at the top, and then the larynx that's in your throat, the trachea that's in the middle of your throat, the bronchi where the system branches into two parts and goes down to each of the lungs, and then the diaphragm. That pretty much makes up the respiratory system. I like to jokingly refer to the sinuses as those large holes in your head. Everybody has a lot of big empty holes in their head, and it was meant to be that way. The sinuses are mostly empty caverns, and they allow the ingested air to be warmed and moisturized. You ever go out on a cold winter day and you suck in that air and all of a sudden it hurts all the way through the lungs? That's because that cold air has bypassed that system and gotten down into the lungs, and cold air in the lungs is pretty painful. So we want to warm it up. We want to make sure it's moisturized. We don't want that dry air to then also dry out our lungs as well. So that's the transfer part. Then the larynx is what we call the voice box. It contains vocal cords and allows for speech as air flows past them into the bronchioles on its way to the lungs.
I never think of the larynx as part of the respiratory system.
Yeah, it's right smack dab in the middle of it. Right after the air leaves your sinuses, it then goes through the larynx. As it's on, makes its way then down through the trachea and into the wind. Oh, the trachea is just the windpipe. We call it the windpipe. And that it just transfers the air then down into the bronchioles and into the lungs. The bronchioles is where there can be a big problem. I'm amazed at the number of people who have bronchitis. My sister, for example, can't live without a bronchial formula that we have that we send to her all the time because she has a tremendous predisposition for having respiratory problems right in the bronchioles. And so we try to keep those disinflamed all year long. And then the lungs are just a large storage chamber in the body that contains air sacs where the body exchanges oxygen for carbon dioxide and the other gases that the body may need. Also the waste gases that come out as well. Those all come out through the lungs. The diaphragm is the large muscle at the bottom of the lungs. We talk about how do you breathe. You ask somebody to take a deep breath, most of the time they raise their shoulders. What they ought to be doing is lowering the abdomen to cause that the diaphragm to suck air into the lungs, not to force it in by raising your shoulders. Anyway,
learned that from my daughter who's in choir. They teach the same thing.
That's exactly right. That's what they teach you, how to get a good breath of air so you can sing. Maintenance functions really in the respiratory system should be minimal as long as you practice always deep breathing. That's one of the reasons that exercise is so important. There are others for the muscles and stuff, but you notice how when you get out and exercise, you start breathing harder. You're actually breathing more deeply. You're getting air down into the bottom part of the lungs. One of the things that goes wrong within the lungs is that if you're always shallow breathing, that breathing takes place just in the top half of the lungs. And the bottom half of the lungs has stale air. It has toxins. It fills with water and mucus. and you end up with all kinds of lung diseases. So you ought to have something that you're doing all the time that's deep breathing. I've worked some with senior citizens in uh, uh, assisted living facilities or nursing homes, and they sit there, they can't breathe at all. And the thing we do first for them is teach them how to deep breathe. And if you can get them to do slow, deep breathing, 10 to 15 cycles at a time, and then do that 2 or 3 times a day, their whole breathing capacity improves significantly in a relatively short period of time. So if you're having trouble with respiratory stuff all the time, stop and think about, do I exercise? Do I do anything that causes me to deep breathe? Could I learn how to just practice sitting in deep breathing if I'm not able to get up and around to keep my lungs healthy? That really is the main thing that you need to do, is just keep that air flowing so that the oxygen gets to all the parts of the lungs instead of just the upper part of the lungs.
So, Randy, would that intentional deep breathing also help me during allergy season and all that when I get a little more congested, like in the lungs and whatnot?
It will definitely help you to breathe. It doesn't necessarily help with the pollens and things that are there. I heard a TV program just yesterday where some of the commentators were saying, even after this pandemic is over, we're going to continue to use our mask when we're outside because I've had no allergies, no allergy contingencies, and no lung issues while I was wearing my mask. The counter to that is the counter to that is while you're keeping out all of those toxins and things, it's harder to breathe when you're wearing a mask. So you have to work at it more. So I'm not an advocate of wearing mask all the time. I'm not opposed to people wearing a mask if they're going to be out in a pine field and they know they're allergic to pine pollen. So if you're going to be around allergens where you know you have a trouble, if you wear a mask to keep those pollens from getting into your lungs, you may save yourself from respiratory issues in the short term anyway. And then
I sometimes wear them when I mow the lawn too.
A lot of people wear a mask while they're mowing the lawn, particularly if you have any allergy to grasses and those kinds of things. So number one was breathe deeply. Number two is keep out the toxins. If you know you're going to be doing something that's going to bring in toxins, then wear a mask. And that's the reason some work environments require you to wear a mask. You know, if you're working around toxic chemicals, or you're working around things where there's gas and oil, things that are toxic to the body, they often give you special respirators to keep you from breathing in those toxins. So stay out of toxic environments as much as you can. And if you have to be in those toxic environments, wear some kind of protection equipment that'll keep you from getting those things into your lungs. I have some old Nature Sunshine training material. I mentioned this last month. From each body system, and it tells you some interesting facts about it. I thought these were kind of good for the respiratory system. The total respiratory surface of the respiratory system is about 20 to 50 times the surface area of your entire body. It's all crumpled up, and it's got all these little exchange devices inside it so that you can get oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange. But that surface area, if you took the whole lung and stretched it out, is about 20 to 50 times what you got for skin.
Wow.
The other toxic thing that I always address when I say get the toxins out is smoking. Smoking is toxic. There's no doubt about it. Non-smokers who are in close association with smokers risk of lung cancer by 30%. So if you're just in the environment where other people are smoking, your risk for cancer, lung cancer, goes up 30%. Non-smokers in heavy traffic may breathe as many airborne free radicals as a pack-a-day smoker. So if your job requires you to be transiting in heavy traffic a lot, look at that. City dwellers may inhale 20 billion particles of foreign matter each day just because you live in the city and all the foreign things that are there. We have an umbrella product for each system, and the umbrella product for the respiratory system is now called seasonal allergy. Used to be called ALJ. It's my number one selling product in the store. It's 5 aromatic herbs. You could take a whole bottle and it wouldn't hurt you, but it helps you to breathe because it dilates all of those chambers all the way through the respiratory system. not dilates, it expands them so that you can get more surface area to get the ideas through. So come and talk to us about that. Our store has 5 naturopathic doctors. We'd love to show you anything at all about any of these or any of our other body system umbrella products. Come and see us. If you have respiratory issues, talk with us about the respiratory supplements. Add respiratory to your list of healthy body systems.
Great. And just so everybody knows, that's 1024 South Douglas in Midwest City, Oklahoma. And the phone number is 405-736-1030.
You bet. Call us, come see us. We'd love to work with you.
Hey, would you Zoom call with people too?
We can give it a try. I do have some Zoom, so we can try that too.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Randy. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Joseph. Enjoyable. Bye-bye.